Dr. Jayanti, it was a pleasure to connect with you and also have an interview with you. Let me first formally congratulate you, Doctor, for being accorded the 3D Graphy Medical Awards, 3D Printing, Dental, and Medical Pioneer of the Year. Because it's an honor to have acknowledged and also share the honor and grant to you as somebody who's been really working on 3D printing technology for last 20 years. And let me ask you to begin with your journey, Doctor, if you can just share how it all started and what is the progress that you see as an opportunity in 3D printing in dental as dental professionals could take this as an opportunity and could learn from you and know what and how it can be of great use for them and the community at large.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sibu, for the opportunity, and I really appreciate it and cherish the award. It's a great recognition to come from my home country and an institution as yours. To look into my journey, like I started off as a dental surgeon several years ago, and I was practicing dentistry. In '87, when I was at King's College London, where I saw the facial discrepancies being analyzed with computers, I was really intrigued and learned all about it. And when I came back home, I started the first diagnostic center for facial discrepancies for diagnosis, treatment, planning, and prediction. And 10 years later, in 97, 98, when I was wanting to translate my programs over to Windows format, I went to AUFRG Center for CAD/CAM, and there the professors told me, tomorrow we are getting a 3D printer, you should come here. I was like, what is a 3D printer like? I've seen only inkjet printer. They said, no, you have to come and probably that's your next step. You worked on it for almost a decade, and now it's time for you to move on. So when I went, I saw the first Stratasys printers, which was the Dimension 50, and it was like a huge, big refrigerator size, I would say, but it was beautiful. I started printing a mandible. I couldn't believe my eyes because I had seen this technology in 90 in 94, 95 when I had been to Berlin for the computer assisted radiology conference for a presentation. I said, oh my gosh, this is coming to India. I'm really glad. So I moved on with them, and we did a lot of work together. I should mention a few of my professors who were really a part of my game. It was Dr. Casey, Dr. Chandrasekhar, who introduced me, who was the head of the AUFRG, Dr. Gauri, who took me under his wings to do my master's, and then it was Mr. Gunasekharan. So all that being said, we worked informally for about 3-4 years, and then as we were talking about 3D printing and we doing a lot of work under the banner of AUFRG. But then I thought this technology has a lot more into it, and so we were giving lectures all over the place, all the way from Srinagar NIT to down south. I said, no, I'm talking about it too much. I really want to get in. So I got into my master's program at College of Engineering, Giddy. And I'm really glad that they were able to take a doctor who had no engineering background to come and do their master's. That is the openness we had. And I'm very thankful to Dr. Gauri and did my master's. Toward the end of my master's, I said, I researched all the plastics available at that time, the polyjet printing, the SLA printing, and the FDM printing. Those days we used to have only the major printers because of the patents, what was there for the FDM and things like that. So, doing my master's, I did all my research. I was so happy. I was helping my patients, making models. I was working with some of the plastic surgeons and the neurosurgeons. So neurosurgeons asked me, can you make a cranial implant? I said, yeah, we can. So we started doing the first patient-specific cranial implants in in 2004, 2005, where we used to use the 3D printing technology for the design and making the horse skull, and we used the titanium plates to make the parts. And I said, okay, this technology, I have to go still further down. I'm working on non-implantable. Let me work on implantables. So when I was looking at that, I was invited by the University of Oklahoma to do my PhD with them. Then I said, oh, I can't write my GRE. They gave me a GRE waiver. They gave me everything possible. And they said, all we want you to do is come and do here. So I came in and did my PhD with the idea of design and manufacturing of custom cranial implants using electron beam melting and titanium alloy. So I worked on Pi 64 where we use the technology. The best part of the technology is you can engineer the material properties. So we worked on the design aspects to get the technology to work for us to engineer the properties to the region of interest. And the first part of my research, I'm so proud to say that today that it got the DeCobbin Award from the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. I really appreciate this award. Then after that, I worked in industry for about 6, 7 years, making custom cranial implants and maxillofacial work with them. Then I thought it was time for me to be back with my hospital, my patients, my surgeons, who spoke the same language as me. So I got this opportunity to move to Nationwide Children's Hospital. It's a level 1 trauma care hospital, and it's the second largest children's hospital in the country. And I started the program here about 3.5 years ago, and we've come a long way since then. Now I have the opportunity to work with all specialties, craniofacial maxillary, and plastic surgery, the cardiac, the orthopedic, and also the simulation. Education is a big part of the hospital, so I also work in a lot of creating malls for simulations and things like that. The technology has a lot of opportunities, which are really, it's still nascent. I'm so, I'm thinking 20 years down the line that the technology is still nascent and there's a lot of things to be done. Are the things where standardization of the technology. I had the great opportunity to be a part of the AMSC, Additive Manufacturing Standardization Collaborative, and I was the chief author for the quality for the medical part at that time, and also for the data part. And at that time, I had a great opportunity of meeting other people who worked in other similar industries or the automotive industry. That was a great experience for me. This has taught my journey to where I am today. And to the extent of receiving an award from 3D Graphy. I'm so happy about it. Thank you so much for the award.
Thank you, Doctor. It is always a pleasure to honor some great work and some. You've been in the epitome of 3D printing, including the space that you are in as a clinician, covering all the specialization. I think that's really interesting. But where I'm seeing is, as somebody who has actually gone through this process, understood the potential of this technology, do you think, Doctor, education as a system in the country would need a course? There are certain engineering colleges who already have these courses as a part of their curriculum. But do you think medical and dental also would need such kind of a curriculum for the young aspirants to be well updated while they become professionals, to adapt or use this technology for benefiting the course forward? Do you think so that we need to have this courses in the medical and dental educational system?
Absolutely true, Sibu. The though the technology is the same, the printing part is the same. You're going to use the same 3D printers as what the other industries use, but the requirements for the dental and medical is completely different. The design aspect is completely different, and where you use which technology is the application is completely different. So it is absolutely essential for to have an education part. Education will be in my mind. It's two things. One is uh, to be educated on the technology, to what to expect out of the technology, what they can uh, mm, ask for, what they can require, where they can apply the technology, how it will work. Secondly, you need trained personnel. So training the personnel to do, whether it's segmentation, because imaging for medical and dental starts right from the imaging part, where the radiologists have got to be involved. So the radiology center has to understand what kind of imaging will work for that, because a lot of times the original data is not saved due to space constraints, so that they save only what is for the diagnostic one, though the images are required at high resolution. So we need to educate that. Then we need dedicated people who are trained in segmentation. So the segmentation, because they need to understand the different anatomy. Today, if after I join Nationwide Children's, if I work on a cardiac model, I need to understand the cardiac model anatomy. Even though I'm a dental surgeon, I know the technology, but I don't know anything on the cardiac anatomy. I got to understand. So there is an educational opportunity there. And then once you segment, how the design aspect of it, how you uh, remove the region of non-interest, take away without compromising your region of interest. So there is a lot of opportunity out there for education. So the workshop should be sort of directed toward each one of that. And also I would say, and see, the older generation of the surgeons, they are so used to looking at these bunch of images, to 2D slices, and construe in their mind. But uh, how far they construe, and they are used to taking a lot of challenges in surgery. Today, the aim is to reduce the surgical time and make it faster, make it more precise, and tell the patient ahead of time what are the risks of the surgery. You don't paint always a green picture of them, of any surgery. So you tell them that we'll be doing all this. So during the course, there's going to be a nerve which is going to go to that side. So if we happen to hit on the nerve, then there's going to be, in the dental world, either a paresthesia is going to be there, or if you're doing neurosurgery, it could be a partial blindness, which could be temporary or it could be permanent. So, and today's patient is I've been seeing patients for the past, let me say, close to uh, more than 45 years. But today's patients are very different from what they were before. So they want to know exactly what is going to happen to them, which is absolutely right. I mean, as a dentist, even while practicing, I used to tell them what I'm going to do, what they can expect out of it. But you can explain to them so much; they understand things much more better with a physical part than you just telling them abstract things. So patient compliance to anything what you do is all much better. So you will have to educate the patients, you will have to educate the people, and you have to educate the physicians, and so I think a consolidated curriculum in at least some of the dental colleges and the medical colleges would be really good. It, I think it would be more during the residency period, when they understand more of the clinical aspects, where this can form a part of the training. Because they're already trained a lot on the clinicals. That's how we do here. I just heard the University of Cincinnati is starting a certification printing program along with a fellowship in cardiology. So the fellow in cardiology is understanding in the 3D program, and he is, because he cannot do it as an individual. This is a teamwork. This starts from the radiologist to the surgeon to the biomedical engineer. So it's a teamwork. So training the fellows or the residents during that time, it makes a world of difference. So I think education is an integral part of the whole thing.
And as you rightly said, doctor, it can be in source of integration with various specialization coming together. And it could be a good learning for doctors to learn various phases, even beyond their specialization, in a way, to be well equipped and well informed about how this can benefit.
Yeah.
Doctor, thank you. Yeah, please.
Actually, if FDA would ask us, like when I was in the industry, we had an FDA audit. So they said, okay, you're sending these pictures or 3D models over to them, to a surgeon to get his approval, because approval is an integral part of the whole thing. So you send it to them. Are they educated to read these images? Are they educated? Because reading a CT, they are trained for it. But when you send them a 3D virtual model, are they educated to understand what they get, and then give you an informed approval and say, go ahead, make the model? So training the surgeons in anything is very essential.
Essential, yeah. Very good,
because
doctor.
there's a wrong concept that the computer does it. You give the CTs, you get the model out. It's not that way. There are so many steps. There are at least about 10 steps that need to go from the imaging to getting a useful virtual model or implant.
Yes. So I think it's good in a way that how 3D printing can actually offer the right appropriate solution going forward, but it is also important that how in integration with knowledge, courses, training programs, and also having a good learning exercise on an ongoing basis to create a module for the educational institutes or dental colleges would be a great idea. In fact, doctor, we are also working on something very similar lines, because we have something called a 3D graphy panel of doctors and surgeons coming from different specialization. So it also becomes an end user's responsive measure. So while the end users would give those inputs, it also helps us to create this module for training. So we believe that it is something which is very, very essential and important. And also, doctor, now coming to this platform, do you think, doctor, platforms like 3D graphy would be of help going forward for professionals or students, or for the medical industry at large? What do you perceive of these platforms eventually?
See, these platforms are a very essential part of the education. I would say, because see, we are dealing with two different entities. One is the medical world, and one is the manufacturing world. These two, you need someone who understands both sides of the coin. So we need somebody who can talk to the doctors about this, about the technology, because the people in the technology world, they are busy with their own things, and the medical world is trying to do things on their own. But there needs a connecting bridge between them. So the bridge, I believe, are organizations like this. Like we have the Society of Manufacturing Engineers. We have one part of the organization is dedicated to medical, where you have both the medical and the engineers. You talk on a common platform. Similarly, we have the Radiological Society of North America, the RSNA. We have what's called SIG, it's called SIG. It's a special interest group in 3D printing. So there we allow the people of, though they are not radiologists, so this particular arm of the organization has the industry. So you have the industry, you have the educators, you have the engineers, you have the doctors. All of us sitting on one platform talking about the same application, but each one has their own role. So that evens out a lot of things. So when the doctor says, I need this, the engineer is able to get up and say, I need this, this, and this to get this done. Then the industry starts up and says, okay, we will get to that level. It could be the design software or it could be the manufacturing itself. So we do need a bridge of common platform like this.
Thank you so much, Doctor. And once again, congratulations for all the good work that you've been doing. Ours is just a platform just to ensure that you have done it, but you have done it even throughout the last 20 years in terms of being able to really do your bit in terms of seeing how the technology can be benefiting the community at large in your own space. Thank you so much for being a part of this event. And we'll be in touch, Doctor, and we would want to also keep learning from you as we progress. And thank you so much, Doctor, for your time.
Absolutely. I would like to be any part of your workshop or your education efforts or anything. And I really cherish this award, and it's a great recognition for me. As I said, coming from my home country, India, and Mumbai was one of the first places where we conducted a workshop at IIT Mumbai, and I really cherish this award. Thank you so much. And but for the COVID, it have been a great opportunity for me to be back home to receive it in person. But we'll do it someday. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Thank you, Doctor.
You too. Thank you. Thank you, sir.